Serious, if you could learn the honest truth behind any rumor or mystery from the course of human history, what secret would you like to unravel? No idea why, but I'm just so interested in finding Genghis Khan's grave. The brutal extent they went through to keep it secret is truly messed up. I heard an interesting conspiracy theory once. Perhaps Genghis Khan actually had a simple cremation and the legend of his grand burial was used to keep his empire hungry for conquest and glory. Or those in charge pocketed the money for his grand burial and came up with that story after killing all the witnesses. Where is all of the missing art the Nazis looted during World War II? More than likely, what are the hundreds of locations of the art? Piles of ash and collapsed caves probably. That's depressing. This is going to sound like a conspiracy theory. Swiss bank vaults used as collateral by the Nazis. When the Third Reich was defeated and collapsed, the Swiss would have grossly violated their quote-unquote neutrality if they revealed they had the stuff. They couldn't sell it openly, and there weren't exactly factions friendly to the idea of paying for Europe's stolen masterpieces. My argument for the Swiss having them is based on their admittance that they dealt in gold and what would today be considered war profiteering. It is likely, therefore, that the art was indeed destroyed to absolve those who possess them of guilt or responsibility. The details of the Bronze Age collapse. We only know very generally what happened. Read 1177 by Eric Klein for details, but precious little specifics. Who did what and why. Droughts, famines, revolts, piracy, population movement, trade collapse etc. are all involved. Mycenae, Minoans, Troy, Hittites, Ugarites etc. Every city from Greece to the Levant was burned down and every civ collapsed. Egypt, Assyria and Babylonia didn't collapse, but were severely weakened for centuries. Where Cleopatra's tomb is located, and Alexander the Great's. What happened to Shelley Miscavige? She just went missing. While the Church of Scientology claims that she's working there, I don't believe it. Same people that believe in Xenu and fricking soul catchers. She's definitely in the hole. And she may be brainwashed enough to feel that she deserves to be in there. Who the Isdal woman really was, what she was doing, how she ended up dead in such a remote valley, in Bergen, Norway. No one has been able to identify her in 50 years. I personally believe the theory of her being a spy. The Mary Celeste. I believe that's the name. It was a US merchant ship that was found completely abandoned floating in the ocean in the 1800s. I would also like to find out what happened to another ghost ship that was found with everyone frozen. There was a spilled barrel of alcohol in the ship, the lifeboats were missing, and a rope was trailing behind the ship. What happened is that the alcohol started evaporating, making it hard to breathe. So everyone left their stuff and went out on a lifeboat behind the ship to let it air out. Then the rope snapped and the ship went drifting away from the lifeboat. It's a little disappointing when I've known about the mystery for years, and someone explains it in a way that makes perfect sense to my adult brain. There are a lot of really fricked up industrial accidents out there. For example, the confined spaces horror story. Low oxygen environment. Buddy passes out. Second guy goes to help. And a third. And before you know it, 3 funerals and a hard lesson learned. My workplace did a whole first aid training seminar together earlier this year, and the trainer really wanted us to roleplay situations that would come up in our actual workplace. They had a bunch of the CPR dummies for everyone to share and had us walk into a room one at a time where they were set up to see how we'd respond to individual scenarios so they could provide feedback. I walked into a room with all the dummies laid out on the floor ready for me to go from dummy to dummy, trying to get a reaction and then starting first aid based on what I thought was happening. I pretty much immediately went straight back out into the hallway and pantomimed calling 911. If there's 8 bodies laying unresponsive on the floor in my workplace with no noise in the hallway before approaching, then there's likely something seriously wrong with the air in the space. When I was a lifeguard instructor, I set up a scenario like this during training to teach them to use their brain. The students would take turns playing lifeguard while the rest were patrons. I would pick a person to be a victim and what kind of victim they were, and the lifeguard would have to scan the pool and watch until that person started drowning. My favorite scenario was when I had all of the patrons in the pool suddenly go limp all at the same time after swimming normally. 10 out of 10 lifeguard trainees jumped in and were electrocuted. I just want my grandma's recipes. The secret ingredient. Where is the amber room? Either I'm stupid or I'm stupid. What's the amber room? It was an incredible room in St. Petersburg created entirely out of amber. Value was beyond worth. It was simply priceless. Nothing like it on Earth. When the Nazis invaded, they looted the amber room, systematically dismantling the entire thing, storing it away, and transporting it towards Germany, like they did with all the other fine art they could get their hands on. In 1998, the family of a German soldier produced a few small decorative pieces from a mosaic in the room, which the soldier supposedly pocketed at the time. Other than those fragments, no evidence of the room has ever been seen again. There is actually a theory that it was shipped to my home village and brought underground. We had an ammunition factory which exploded at the end of the war. Everything was underground, so the whole facility was flooded with water, and with it also thousands of art pieces and documents. One night before that happened, a train, don't know if it was an armored one or not, arrived and soldiers were ordered to put mysterious boxes underground. The old people in my village still think it was the amber room. What's the name of your village? What is inside the Vatican secret archives? Probably like 99% boring written accounts and 1% juicy church scandals. Well, that is probably a lot considering its age. D. B. Cooper, the hijacker that jumped from the jet plane with all that money, and what happened from then till now. Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Oh my gosh, you should read the article The Atlantic did last year. Link below. It's very long, but so worth the read. It goes over what we know and what the likely scenarios are for what happened. Nothing has ever scared me so much as reading the theory of how it was done. Warning for anyone who clicks the link. There is some seriously scary description of what likely happened on the flight. I fly a lot for work, and one of my biggest fears about it is a pilot deciding to take everyone on the plane with them. I fly to a lot of the same places, so I'm really familiar with the routes and normal deviations due to weather or high traffic, so anytime there's a weird path on a flight I'm familiar with. It freaks me out for a minute. That happened to my brother once on a flight from Baltimore to San Francisco. His plane started descending and he knew it was several hours early. When someone asked a flight attendant why they were landing early, she just burst into tears and said the pilot will make an announcement soon. My brother was terrified. The pilot said that there had been an incident in New York and that the FAA had asked their plane to land in Omaha, Nebraska, but that there was nothing wrong with their plane. And as you probably guessed, yes, this was the morning of 9/11/2001. That poor flight attendant, they're always so professional and calm. That must have been horrifying, monitoring the plane and having to be ready for a potential hijacking. I'm glad your brother is okay. I get the too long didn't read. Where are the missing soldier children? What happened at Dyatlov Pass? And does the ivory-billed woodpecker still exist? Reading creepy Wikipedia pages about missing children and stuff is not a good thing to depot before bed. It isn't actually a rumor or mystery, but I'd like to learn the history behind the legend of Excalibur. I like to know about the thousands of years of undocumented human history. The one thing that fascinates me is how did wandering affect culture? That is, all our modern culture comes from people with borders. They may not be nation states, but pick any direction and you'll either hit a natural obstacle like a mountain, or land controlled by other people. But there was a time when that wasn't true. For a few thousand years, if you didn't like where you were, you could just pack up, walk a few kilometers, and be the first person ever there. How did that affect their mindset? Did they have a god of new places? Did they have people who were specialized in scouting out potential places to move to? I believe it would be a result in searching for food or resources. After one place dries up, go to another. Maybe chasing prey. Literally every single Unsolved Mysteries episode. That man's face gave me nightmares as a kid. I felt like he had the answers, but just wanted to scare me. where the cool S originated from and why did it spread to so many places. You should watch the video by Lemino titled The Universal S. It kills me that I will die without knowing the deep dark it rich and powerful people, governments, and companies have done. We only hear about what they've gotten caught doing and there has to be so much more. And what about older wealth before there was any insight into this? What did the Rockefellers do abroad on private islands before the Epsteins existed? Also, all the technology that the Gates, Musk, and Bezos crowd get to see deep in the R&D departments. I mean, the Panama Papers came out and no one did it about it. Well, the rich got the journalist whom discovered it whacked.